So here we are on the cusp of another Thanksgiving, and some of you may be making your final last-minute preparations for what is to come, whatever festivities you may be having in store, and maybe one of those festivities include some NFL binge watching, some NFL action that is to come this coming weekend, whether it be on a Thursday, a Sunday, and now even your Friday Thanksgivings. So yeah, there is NFL action on Black Friday now. But we're going to talk about it as we prepare and preview the week that is to come, week 12 of the 2023 NFL season. So yeah, we got a big Thanksgiving slate this coming weekend, ladies and gentlemen, in week 12, as we're 1 week away from the beginning of the stretch run of this 2023 NFL season. What do I mean by the stretch run? Well, it goes from December all the way to the end of the season in early January. So before all that, we must feast on this weekend in week 12. And it all begins with the Thursday Thanksgiving slate on Thursday, of course, as the Green Bay Packers at 4-6 take on the Detroit Lions at 8-2 to kick all this off. And these are not the same old Lions that were getting pushed around, being around all the Thanksgiving games that they were kicking off. No, this year is a little bit different because the Detroit Lions are winning games. They're doing it pretty well. And yeah, they're at least coming in winning, pal. So going turning into last week, both of these teams are coming off comeback wins. The Packers came back to beat the Chargers. The Lions came back to beat the Chicago Bears. And this is the second meeting between these two teams. They also meet on a Thursday back in week 4, where the Lions beat the Packers 34-20 back in Green Bay. So in terms of some things to look out for both of these teams, the Packers are kind of missing a few key players for this game. They're coming in a little not so healthy. Running back Aaron Jones is going to be lost for this game, and maybe a couple more with an MCL sprain. So kind of a good opportunity if Jordan Love wants to kind of prove himself that if he wants to have a good performance like he did at home against the Chargers and carry that over on the road against the Lions, then this is kind of a good opportunity to do so. Try to prove his worth to the brass in Green Bay. Meanwhile, for the Lions, Jared Goff, he managed to lead that comeback win, but he's probably thinking to himself, yeah, I kind of want to watch the reason why we had to come back in that game. He had a 3-interception game despite that comeback win, and he's looking to bounce back. So I'm going to go with the Lions in this game. They're on the roll right now, so they're probably going to keep that way. And then in the middle day, afternoon game on Thanksgiving, we have the Washington Commanders at 4-7 taking on the 7-3 Dallas Cowboys. A historic rivalry game in the middle portion of the day. But unfortunately for the Commanders, they're on a little bit of a free fall. A very bad loss in week 11 as they got swept under the rug by the very bad, very, very hurt, unhealthy New York Giants that were led by Tommy DeVito, their third-string quarterback, who the Commanders allowed to have a career day. Meanwhile, for the Cowboys, they've been taking care of business as they continue to tune up before a daunting rest of season stretch. So, I mean, it's no hard pickings here. I'm going to go with the Cowboys. Then in the nightcap for the Thanksgiving Day slate, my San Francisco 49ers at 7-3 take on the 6-4 Seattle Seahawks in an NFC West battle. This is going to be the first of 2 meetings between these two teams in 3 weeks. So both of these teams are going to have like this meeting and then another like game in between, and then another meeting in another week. So yeah, sounds a little confusing, but this first of 2 meetings in 3 weeks is likely could decide the NFC West, and maybe also the other one, maybe that could as well. But anyway, in terms of last week, the 49ers beat the Bucs at home. Meanwhile, you had the Seahawks. They did not look good in that week 11 matchup against the Rams, and they managed to almost win that game, but unfortunately, their kicker, Jason Myers, missed the game-winning field goal. They also have questions about their quarterback, Geno Smith, who missed most of the fourth quarter with a tricep injury in his throwing arm, but he managed to finish the game, come back and finish the game. And it seems like he's going to play in this game despite the injury, so the Seahawks have to be careful monitoring that. Meanwhile, for the 49ers, they did not come out of that game unscathed as well against the Bucs. They lost their top safety, Talanoa Hufanga, to a season-ending ACL injury after he had his ankles broken quite literally to Rachaad White, which is unfortunate. So the secondary is going to have to adapt. Rookie safety Jair Brown filled in a little well. Let's see how he does and carries over his performance on the road. I'm going to go with the Niners in this game. And then you have the first ever Black Friday game. I think this is one of the first ever Friday games for the NFL. Correct me if I'm wrong on that. But either way, the first ever Black Friday game involves the Miami Dolphins at 7-3 taking on the 4-6 New York Jets. I don't know how appealing this looked before the season started. Probably looks a lot more appealing than it does now. But anyway, the Dolphins, days before, they beat the Raiders in a close battle that most people didn't expect. And then the Jets got their butts whooped by the Bills on the road. So the Dolphins defense, it's coming along nicely, but they're hoping that their offense can kind of replicate and balance that out because they kind of struggled in that game against a surprising Raiders strong defense. Meanwhile, for the Jets, oh boy, they finally reached that quarterback conundrum because they finally benched Zach Wilson, but not only benched him, they demoted him back to where he was a year before. They demoted his ass to third string. So he's essentially going to be the emergency quarterback, ladies and gentlemen. So now all the Jets' hopes of whatever they can get Aaron Rodgers back is going to be on the line as journeyman Tim Boyle is going to get the start. Who is Tim Boyle? I don't know. Anyway, he's going to get the start after head coach Robert Saleh benched Zach Wilson and demoted him. So, yeah, it's going to be something, ladies and gentlemen, that Jets defense better hope that he can provide something on the other end. But either way, I'm going with the Dolphins. Now we get to the Sunday slate of games post-Thanksgiving, starting with the early morning portion as the New Orleans Saints at 5-5 take on the Atlanta Falcons at 4-6. Both teams are coming off their bye weeks, but last time we saw them in action, the Saints lost to the Vikings, where they lost Derek Carr to a concussion. The Falcons lost to the Cardinals back in Week 10, where they also lost their quarterback, Taylor Heineke, to a hamstring injury. So both of these teams are trying to stay in the competition of this crappy NFC South division race. They're still in contention for that because the Bucs also lost in Week 11 while they were on bye. But again, they face questions about their starting quarterbacks. They know for the Falcons, they're going back to Desmond Ridder because Taylor Heineke's not healthy. But for Derek Carr, who is still in concussion protocol, I believe, they don't know if he's going to play. But either way, I'm going to go with, I guess, the Saints. The Pittsburgh Steelers at 6-4 take on the 5-5 Cincinnati Bengals in an AFC North matchup. Both of these teams lost last week as the Steelers lost to the Browns and the Bengals lost to the Ravens. But the Bengals more than just lost a game last week as they lost their starting quarterback, Joe Burrow, for the season with a torn right arm ligament. So basically his torn arm has no strength in it. So it's going to be on rookie quarterback Jake Browning, the backup. He's going to be getting his first start, essentially. He showed some flashes of his mobility, but not much else. So it's going to be a rough showing against a good Steelers defense. But the problem is the inconsistency of an offense is killing any chance for the Steelers to try and keep pace in that AFC North. But who knows? Maybe that firing from Matt Canada could spark something in Kenny Pickett. So either way, I'm going with the Steelers. A key AFC South matchup involves the 7-3 Jacksonville Jaguars going the road, taking on the 6-4 Houston Texans. Last time both of these teams met back all the way in Week 3, the Texans provided a big upset over the Jaguars in the land of all elite, blowing them out 37-17. And in terms of last week's results, the Jaguars blew out the Titans in an AFC South battle. I mean, kind of no surprise there. Meanwhile, for the Texans, they beat the Cardinals in a close one. And in terms of both of these teams going into this game, the Jaguars, I mean, obviously, they want to avenge that blowout loss all the way back in Week 3 and assure a season split. For the Texans, they can actually take a little bit of control of the division if they manage to upset the Jaguars once again. So if they win this game, they get a 2-0 season sweep and perhaps control of the AFC South. So I don't think it'll happen here because the Jaguars might be a little bit more motivated So I'm going to go with the Jaguars. The Tampa Bay Bucks at 4-6 take on the 5-5 Indianapolis Colts, who are coming off a bye. So the Colts, last time we saw them in action, they were in Germany, and they beat the Patriots back in Week 10. So hopefully for the Colts, the bye week helped them to make some adjustments, especially on offense, because, it did not look good with Gardner Minshew at the helm. He's still going to be there, but hopefully they use the bye week to get a little bit better. But on the defensive end, they released their top linebacker, Shaq Leonard. So a little bit questionable decision there. Meanwhile, for the Bucks, they had plenty of opportunities to try and get back in that game against the 49ers, but the red zone offense and their passing defense is clearly failing them. They're going to win this game against, I'm picking them to win this game against the Colts, but something's clearly going on with that Bucks team. It's causing them to not win these games. The New England Patriots at 2-8 take on the 3-8 New York Giants. The Patriots lost to the Colts back in Germany, like I said before, and the Giants beat the Commanders in a kind of upset win. Not really. So for both of these teams, at this point, they're pretty much in full evaluation mode. The Giants already had their, I guess, kind of pseudo best game of the season, I guess, with Tommy DeVito as their quarterback. But for the Patriots, again, I guess they're just counting the days until they have to move on from Bill Belichick at this point. So I'm going to go with the Giants. The 1-9 Carolina Panthers take on the 3-7 Tennessee Titans. The Panthers suffered yet another blowout loss to the Cowboys, and the Titans badly lost to the Jaguars. Head coach Frank Reich, it seems like for the way these are planning out, he's looking like to be one and done once again on another team. His team is always constantly putting on these lackluster performances with his offense. Bryce Young is not developing pretty well. It's like head coach Frank Reich, it's like something's not going on there. Will Levis, though, on the other hand, he's also crashing back down to earth. So kind of a little concerning there, but either way, I'm still picking the Titans because Carolina's not that much better either. Going into the afternoon slate of games, the LA Rams at 4-6 take on the Arizona Cardinals at 2-9. For the Rams, they managed to upset the Seahawks last week. The Cardinals lost to the Texans in a close one. This is the second meeting between these two teams, where the Rams back in Week 6 beat the Arizona Cardinals back at home. But it was a slightly much different Cardinals team where Kyler Murray was still on injury reserve, and they had Josh Dobbs on the team. So a little bit of a different story for this matchup because, well, at least for Kyler Murray and Jonathan Gannon, their head coach, they seem like they're a decent pairing so far. Kyler Murray is kind of back to that original form that he was pre-injury. So that at least is some positive news for an Arizona Cardinals team that's still trying to figure things out, trying to evaluate who can help them out in 2024. And one of those people probably is Kyler Murray. Meanwhile, for the Rams, their defense, despite being undermanned, not having a lot of talent over there on that side, they're hoping to slow down Kyler Murray just like they did to the Seahawks, but we will see. So I'm going to go with the Rams in this game. The Cleveland Browns at 7-3 take on the 5-5 Denver Broncos in probably a key matchup for one of the playoff spots in the AFC. So for the Browns, they beat the Steelers. The Broncos beat the Vikings in a key Sunday night matchup. The Browns defense, at this rate, even without their quarterback, Deshaun Watson, and they're pretty much down to their backup quarterback, Dorian Thompson-Robinson, their defense is pretty much keeping their playoff hopes alive and well. So if they can get something out of their backup quarterback, hey, all hope is not lost, I guess. Meanwhile, for the Denver Broncos, they're slowly getting better. They're slowly chugging along. Maybe they can try to crack a playoff spot, but I don't know. Personally, in my opinion, it's a little too late, but there's still some hope there that Russell Wilson, can slowly get better and try to salvage that trade deal that kind of still looks But hey, they're slowly getting better, and they can maybe crack the code that is Browns defense. So, I'll go with the Browns. The Kansas City Chiefs at 7-3 take on the 5-6 Las Vegas Raiders. The Chiefs, they blew it against the Eagles 21-17 that Monday night game. The Raiders lost to the Dolphins because, well, I guess Aiden O'Connell can't do it all, man. And that's the deficiency of the rookie quarterback. So I guess focus really needs to turn to trying to center the offense back around the running back, Josh Jacobs. And meanwhile, for the Chiefs, their receiving core is really failing Patrick Mahomes. The lack of investment at getting a top receiver for Mahomes after they traded away Tyreek Hill, it's starting to really glare. They got away with that in their Super Bowl run last year, but they're not getting away with it now because of the alarming rate of dropped passes. So they really need to step up. Otherwise, they're not going to repeat. But I mean, in terms of this game, they're going to win. They're really going to win because of the talent deficiency of the Raiders. The Buffalo Bills at 6-5 take on the 9-1 Philadelphia Eagles. The Bills in their game beat the Jets. The Eagles beat the Chiefs last week. So the change in offensive coordinator clearly helped Josh Allen in the offense. They looked reignited. They managed to score 3 touchdowns in 4 possessions last week in that blowout win. But now let's see if they can carry that success on the road in a hostile environment. That is Philadelphia, who is clinging on to the NFC's top seed via so many different ways to win. So I expect the Eagles to win this one yet again as they head into another critical matchup the following week. Then in the Sunday Night Football game for week number 12, the Baltimore Ravens at 8-3 take on the LA Chargers at 4-6. So for the Ravens, they beat the Bengals on that Thursday night game, so they're coming off plenty of rest. The Chargers lost to the Packers in another game that they clippered away like they always do. So for the Ravens, though, they suffered a key loss to their offense in tight end Mark Andrews to a season-ending ankle injury, which is going to be interesting how they function because even they lost Mark Andrews, but I mean, who was like the glue to their offense. I mean, you still have your like a lineage of weapons like Zay Flowers, Rashad Bateman, Odell Beckham Jr., Nelson Aguilar, but it's like Mark Andrews was like really the guy that really made the offense flow for like many years. So it's going to be interesting how they function in this game against the Chargers. Speaking of the Chargers, this defense is failing them once again. Brandon Staley's coach defense, it's failing, especially in the clutch moments, and it's probably going to fail here against a Ravens defense that's really that's really been picking up, and it did okay for itself, even with the loss to Andrews. So I expect that to stay the same as the Ravens will beat the Chargers. And then the Monday Night Football game, another Monday Night Football game that some people didn't ask for. The Chicago Bears, I don't know how they got this game, at 3-8, take on the Minnesota Vikings at 6-5. So, yeah, the Bears blew that game against the Lions. They blew another big lead, while the Vikings lost a close one to the Broncos on Sunday night. This is the second meeting between these two teams. They first met back in Week 6, where the Vikings beat the Bears in Chicago, where at the time they had Kirk Cousins as their quarterback. Now they have Josh Dobbs. For the Vikings, they're looking to eliminate the turnover problems that plagued them early in the season and came back to bite them in the Denver game. So, yeah, they have to eliminate some of those turnover problems if they want to keep hold of their kind of slim and glim playoff hopes. Meanwhile, for the Bears, the reason why they gave away yet a big lead in a potential upset of the Lions is because of one thing, ladies and gentlemen. Bears football! But anyway, for the Bears, you have to look at potentially a coaching change in the offseason because at some point, when you really consider Matt Eberflush's defense, his coaching of certain aspects of the offense, is it really worth it? Is it really worth keeping and trying to demoralize Justin Fields in his development even further? Is it really worth it, especially on this stage that is Monday Night Football? Do you really want America to suffer? Do you really want make certain people like a certain Shag Daddy to suffer even more? I don't know. But anyway, I'm going with the Vikings in this game. And with that is your preview, my picks for week number 12, the Gobble slate for the 2023 NFL season. I know it's a lot, but hey, every team is playing. So there's a lot to get off my chest. Hint, hint. No, not really. Just kidding. But anyway, let me know your picks for this coming week of action in the 2023 NFL season. That is week 12. Yeah, I know it's a little earlier than usual, but we know it's Thanksgiving, so we got to get it out there than usual. And every game is more spread out than unusual this week. But anyway, I'm enough rambling. Until the next time we're on here, this is DylanLasagna signing out of Very Cold Lasagna. And keep that lasagna very cold in the fridge with your takes on the world of sports. Enjoy your Thanksgiving. Happy Thanksgiving, ladies and gentlemen. And peace out.